So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed Muffin Church. Coffee and muffins before church, a barbecue after church, lots of chances to connect and be community together, to talk. We began the service by acknowledging that we've just had a provincial election and that in our midst are people who voted wrong. People who voted differently than we would have voted, whatever we would have done. And that there are gathered in this day those who are excited and those who are afraid, those who are worried, those who are ready to get to work, those who are unsure, those who are waiting to see, as always happens in the midst of big change. So in the aftermath of a provincial election and an annual general meeting we had last week, we recognize that we're not all of one mind, but we are all of one community. And so we look forward to continuing to talk together and work together and understand different points of view and find the best way to shape a community in which people can feel safe, in which people can have real hope, in which visions are real and believable, possible. So we did that. We also acknowledge that our theologies are all different as well, and again we learn from each other, and that it's holy and special when we are able to listen to each other with love and respect and work together without having to agree on everything together. We are a somewhat diverse community. We acknowledge that. And we kind of celebrated that today too, because there was no sermon preached today, there was no choir. We sat at tables as you would in a coffee house or restaurant, cafe, and we had our coffee and muffins and we talked. No choir, we had a live band instead. We call ourselves the Muffin Band. It's a 9-piece band. And we played pop songs from the 70s through to stuff that's on the radio right now. All connected to and trying to shape the discussions that we'd have around the table. So we connected everything to Pentecost. We decided to go back and re-celebrate Pentecost. Again, because of an election and a general meeting, an annual meeting last week, this is a time for us to dream dreams, for us to recognize the Spirit moving through us and around us and share that. So we started by talking in our groups, just around our table. No reporting back, just talking about what the desert feels like for us. What does it feel like when times are hard? What is it that saps our energy or what makes us weary? We talked about that. We heard from the prophet Ezekiel and dry bones. We sang Horse with No Name. We sang Up on the Roof. We sang a bunch of songs. And then we talked about what gives us life. What is it that brings those dry bones together and gets us up and gives us hope? So we talked about the desert, we talked about hope. We sang Fire and Rain. We heard the story of Pentecost. We heard the letter to the Romans from Paul when he talks about how the Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for human words. And so we tried to share with each other those things that we don't describe very well. What is it the Spirit knows about us, about our community, that we find hard to put into words? We shared that. And we shared the story of the coming of the Holy Spirit. And then we shared with each other, and some of us dared to write down and submit for later perusal and edification. We shared what it means, what our vision for Jubilee, for our church, for our community is in the next year. What are we hoping for? What are we imagining? What do we want to be part of? What is it that God is doing with us, through us? What are we hoping for, looking forward to in the next year? And we sang Meant to Be, and we sang Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, as we then wondered personally how we might help those visions come to be. And we finished up in prayer and singing If the Wind Could Blow My Troubles Away by Mary McLaughlin. It's a 70s folk song that At least a couple of us knew, but everybody was able to join in and sing at the end. The wind could blow my troubles away, I'd stand in a hurricane. And we sang Amen, and then we closed because it was Pentecost, and we'd already had wind and we'd had tongues because we sang in multiple languages together, the whole community, which was kind of fun. But then we needed to finish with fire, and so Drew Winters tore the keys up with great balls of fire, and that was a service. And the amazing thing was that people sat and talked, people who don't usually sit together and just met each other for the first time, really met each other. They might have recognized the face because they come to church together, but they actually sat and shared, and some people shared very profound truths, and some people just had pleasant conversation. But then I watched those conversations continue as we moved to a barbecue and we're sitting out eating, and I'm looking again, I'm seeing people sitting together who have never sat together before. And I recognized that the work of the service was already done. People were sharing and they were hearing, and in that the Spirit was moving. So I'm keen to see what happens in the weeks and months to follow today's special service. I had fun being in the band. But it would have been even better if you could have been with us. So know that I hold you, we hold you in our hearts and in our prayers. And we hope to see you soon. Until we do, God bless. And take a little time to wonder, where is the Spirit moving? Where is your hope? And how might you be part of a vision of hope? Till we see you. God bless.